Very
So losing our identity, it almost reminds me of this song of what is this British group called? There is this song called "Losing Our Religion." But in this case, are we really losing our identity, John?
It's interesting. I know this was a topic of the show, but what's interesting is that we have been living in fear for so long that our identity has almost become one of fear. You think back at in 1980, CNN, it's when I started working with the Pacific Institute and teaching cognitive psychology. CNN went on the air with 24-hour news. And then all the digital media started, all the cable news shows started showing up, and everybody had to have something to lead with. And if it bled, it led, the saying goes. And so we have been subjected as a society since 1980 to god-awful things, and we live in fear. And now AI is just the next epic of fear.
Well, I think not it's like a fear about fear. Maybe we have the opportunity to don't have any situation don't like it. For example, I don't have arms, and maybe with all this situation new, maybe I can be a different person. In this moment, how do we redefine our limitation? What steps can we take to see our limitation, not as barriers, but as opportunities to grow and adapt?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I think Juan and I have discussed this in depth. There's a individual who I love. His name is David Eagleman, and he happens to be a neuroscientist. And he really he puts things in perspective as far as limitation. And one of the things he talked about was that we only see as human beings, our visual range is only 1/10 trillionth of the possible information that's available to us. So we've been limited all our life.
Yeah. Can I just make emphasis on what you just said? That, and I want to do it in Spanish, pero una de las cosas que John acaba de comentar es de un neurocientífico que se llama David Eagleman, y él dice que los seres humanos vemos solamente 1/10 de 1 trillón. Lo voy a repetir para que lo pongamos en perspectiva, porque es un número y de repente no le podemos dar el énfasis que merece. Los seres humanos solamente vemos 1/10 de 1 trillón de la realidad que nos rodea. Ahora, John, let me do one thing so we can kind of put the whole conversation that we're going to have in context. And I wanted to do this because this is in your book, A Creation Code. And I want to read the introduction. So it's just a couple of minutes, but I'm going to read it in Spanish. And you know, obviously, what I'm reading because this is your book. Y bueno, lo que voy a es, creo que le va a dar contexto a la conversación que vamos a tener, el hecho de que lea la introducción de lo que es el libro para que entendamos el tema que vamos a discutir con profundidad. Y dice, ¿qué pasaría si tuvieras la capacidad de reescribir tu vida, no solo en teoría, sino en la práctica? Y si la forma de que ves a ti mismo, tus limitaciones que acaba de mencionar Adriana, y tus posibilidades no fueran fijas, sino maleables, esperando a que tú les des forma. El código de la creación no trata del destino ni de la predestinación, trata de la intersección entre la psicología, la neurociencia, la biología y la espiritualidad, que te permite crearte y recrearte con intención. Cada momento de tu vida, lo hayas notado o no, has estado escribiendo el guión de tu propia historia. Cada pensamiento que has albergado, cada creencia que has sostenido y cada decisión que has tomado ha moldeado la realidad en la que vives hoy, una realidad limitada. Todos seguimos un código de creación. Algunos lo utilizan para crear obras maestras, mientras que otros, sin ser conscientes de su poder, crean caos. La pregunta no es si estás utilizando el código, sino si lo estás utilizando para construir la vida que realmente deseas. La diferencia entre prosperar y solo sobrevivir no es suerte ni talento, es comprensión. Y una vez que reconoces la fórmula que está en este juego, tienes el poder de reescribir tu vida de manera intencionada en lugar de dejarla al azar o a los ecos de tu condicionamiento pasado. This is the last part I'm going to read. A través de la historia de Landon Anantrai y su mentor, el profesor Sage Quinn, un hombre que simboliza inteligencia sabia, este libro presenta los principios fundamentales del crecimiento personal y del pensamiento de alto rendimiento. Explora el inconsciente infinito, el vasto pozo de inteligencia aún sin explotar que moldea nuestra realidad y ofrece un marco claro que quieres desear para transformar tu mentalidad, liberar tu verdadero potencial y vivir con un mayor propósito. Obviously, you know what I was reading, John.
Sure.
And there is so many things just within this introduction of what this whole process is. Are we really regaining or losing what could be our potential? Adriana was mentioning to you that can we take advantage of our limitations and really make them a vast, options of possibilities out there?
You know, the way that I'm going to address this is we have been so limited all our lives, we just didn't know it. So all of us are limited, and that's why I use the topic of the 1/10 trillionth of visuals, spectrum that we miss. I mean, excuse me, that we only see is 1/10 trillionth, and that it's hard to even put that into perspective. So, but Juan, you'll probably have to help me. But if you can imagine a pie chart, and you were supposed to say 1/10 trillionth represents what on that pie chart? Could you make a slice of pie? And the answer is 1/10 trillionth of the pie chart would not even be a visible line on the pie chart.
I'll do that. Lo que yo está tratando de ejemplificar es precisamente que si tratáramos de graficar lo que significa un décimo de una trillonésima parte de la realidad que percibimos, si tratáramos de poner esto dentro de un círculo, no habría forma ni siquiera de percibirlo, aún tratar de marcando lo que significa una trillonésima parte dentro de este círculo. Entonces es impercibible y es parte de lo que comenta el neurocientífico David Eagleman.
And so I would go on and add to that. Just when I think about Adriana, and I think about Nikolai Tesla, and I think about Elon Musk, or I think about anyone who's accomplished what seems to be, for the rest of us, something infinite potentialized, if you will. They're achieving so much, and we think somehow they're tapping into that whole pie chart.
Mm-hmm.
So what I'd just offer up is that AI, every technology that we ever encounter, is just allowing us to be more if we can see more. And so the book's subtitle, the Creation Code subtitle, is the formula for seeing more, being more, so that we can do more. And so, and Adriana, you do that every day. And I think all of us do. All of us do. But you allow us to see ourselves doing more.
Yes.
And so that's why you're such an inspiration, just being you.
Mm.
But yes, but for all those in your book, what does writing, rewriting our life really means in a practical connections. How can we implement mindful change in our daily life that reflect our intentions and desires?
Yeah, no, great question. I hope this translates well because that's the greatest question, which is most people move from wishing their life were different to wanting to have their life be different. And then they may even goal set to have their life be different. And they may even affirm their life being different. But until you see your life being different, until it is changing, if you will, the synapse construct of your neurons in your brain, which happens when you visualize an end result. Once you see it, it's now created a pathway. And if you repeat that pathway, you move from where you're at to where you choose to be instantaneously in your mind. The repetition of that makes you become that repetition.
Okay, then I have this question. Listening to both of you, it's very interesting because I would like to make this example on what you were mentioning to Adriana and then what Adriana was saying to you. So Adriana's question is, how do we really accomplish the things that we can sort of imagine? And obviously what you're telling her, that we really not only really need to see it, but really feel them and make sure that we stimulate all our neural connections on our brain. But then my question to Adriana is sort of in the answer you're giving her, so that Adriana can also throw some sort of an answer out there. We discussed this before. When it's not your conditions, it's your decisions that will definitely create the world that you want.
Mm-hmm.
At what point, Adriana, were you capable of really, and how? Listen to the question. At what point and how were you capable of doing what John was just saying? That you really need to see it so that it stimulates and it creates neural pathways. And that's why the crucial thing here for you to answer, because it will not be so much an answer for John because he understands it, but it will be an answer for our audience.
Well, I think maybe when we make the things natural way, for example, in my case, all my life do the things with my feet, and in this moment when I think in robots, in all new things, in a how do you say prosthesis, in a prosthesis, maybe I think, oh my God, I want to be a better person. But honestly, I am a good person. I'm better when I do the things with my feet. And how can I rewriting and use all these new things, robots and intelligent artificial, and don't don't uh, don't be a different person.
Hmm. So I guess that sort of an answer goes back to you, John. How do you have it in the book, the stuff that Adriana just shared? Because what I got from her is like, you want to create a new thing, like artificial intelligence, and then when this new thing comes, then there has to be a new you. But how do you work for this new you, for these new things, in order for them to work? How do you approach that in your? I don't even want to call it a book, but I want to call it a transformation opportunity. What you wrote.
Yeah, well, like anything else, I want to. I don't want to make it sound so psychological that people are scared of anything, because it's very natural. I mean, when we talk about cognitive psychology, what we're really talking about, or positive psychology, is what's right with people. And so when I look at an Adriana, I look at somebody who's doing things right, utilizing more, being more than I do. And so the question becomes, how do I rewrite that picture in my brain so that fear, and it's fear that stops us from doing anything. It's fear. It's strictly fear. So, and so when we talk about AI, or whether we're talking about the news, or whether we're talking about the orange man, or whether we're talking about, whatever it is somebody wants to place in our mind as fear, let me ask you the question, Ron. What happens to the human brain when it's subjected to fear?
It gets obfuscated. It doesn't think clearly. It doesn't function with all its capabilities, and it just diminishes our potential. It diminishes. It doesn't take it away. And I want to make emphasis on that because it's so crucial what you just were sharing. I was thinking of Adriana again, in the sense that I see that you do so many things that I don't do myself, and I was thinking, Adriana, do you ever get this question from people that they may say, you have less and you do more. You don't have arms and you're doing so much more. So the arms, it's not the thing that is going to allow you to do more or to do less. As well as some other people don't have legs and they do a lot more than some of us. They have legs and they have arms. So then what is the question, John? Is it fear that is not allowing us to use, whether our hands, arms, brain, or fear is not allowing us to really remove, or it just blocks us so we don't see what's really out there to see within us?
Okay, so let's go back to Adriana. Sorry for talking about you as if you're not present, because you're very present. And what I would say is, what I admire is you don't let fear stop you. Whereas the rest of us, we encounter fear and it becomes a block. Your desire to be whatever it is you choose to be outruns your fear. Your love of the future outruns your fear. And if we can love our future by seeing it, we rewire ourselves to be it. And so the rest of society, and especially because of conditioning, I mean, so much pounding and so many people trying to control us with fear, that we're almost paralyzed to move forward. Mm-hmm. We're almost stop ourselves from moving forward. So if we think about that pie chart, and there's potential to do anything because it's unlimited. Mm-hmm. Many of us do very few things and we get along okay. We're doing fine, but we're doing nothing. And so when we take these technologies and we add them to ourselves, it allows us to do more. And if we can see the future and what those technologies are allowing us to see, my gosh, it allows us to move forward without fear. But even the technology, the new, right? The way we were designed as human beings is simply this: for survival's sake, we need to anticipate that what's around the corner could kill us. Mm-hmm. Right? The saber-toothed tiger, if I get out of the cave, that saber-toothed tiger could kill me. So I'm trepidatious about getting out of the cave. I want to be really careful there's no cat that's going to gobble me. So anytime there's an unknown, we fear it. And so if we don't know AI, if we don't utilize AI, if we don't use Chat GPT, then it's this scary thing that we don't know how to work with. But when we start engaging in that technology, when we start using our cell phone, when our kids show us how to use our cell phones, then we're capable of imagining ourselves using it. And once we can imagine ourselves into the future, we move toward it without fear. Yeah. So the rewiring happens by the way Adriana, you have rewired your brain to not let fear stop you.
Yes.
And so the rest of us just can listen to you and hope that somehow we could see like you and not see fear. And there's a way, there's a formula, there's an outcome formula that will allow you to do that if you just allow yourselves to explore the possibility.
Yes. And in middle of these possibilities, how can we inspire others to discover their infinity potential? What communication and motivational strategies we can apply?
You know, another great question. All questions are great questions, but some of these are right spot on, which is the best thing we can do is ask questions. The best thing we can do is not tell them, help them to be inspired about the future, try and coach them to success. None of that. The best way is to ask questions and listen, and they'll talk themselves out of excuses for not moving forward if we ask enough questions.
I love what you're sharing, John, and I think you're into something huge. But I think I will like the idea that you elaborate on it a little more, on the idea of asking questions. Although we don't want to get a lot into the nitty gritty neuropsychological stuff, but it is important that you touch a little further why, psychologically speaking, it's a crucial not only to ask questions, but to be able to ask ourselves and other people the right kinds of questions.
Yeah, so most everybody knows who's ever done anything in the self-help world. We know that it's a good idea to journal, right? To write things down, to write what you reflected on down. And then you don't just write it down. You ask the question, why did I think that? Right? What was going through my mind? And you keep exploring deeper and deeper with yourself until you go, insight. And once you get the insight, then you change your expectation. So you get an insight and it allows you to see more. And that insight allows you to change your expectation. If that's true, then I could do this. And then you start imagining. And as you start imagining, and think of neurons as basically when they start clicking and synapsing, they form a path. And that path becomes a superhighway, right? So now, without thinking about it, you go through your day basically on just routine. It's normal, it's habit. And so it's superhighway after superhighway that you're functioning on. And when you get a new insight, you're basically starting a new road. Now, it doesn't become a superhighway until you think about it over and over and over and over and over and over. And you can do that 1,000 times in one day. And you visualize the future until it becomes the superhighway that you default to. So that asking the questions either of myself or of Juan or of you, Adriana, asking you to define the future or the limitations of the future as you see them. So I say, well, why do you think that? Just like a little kid, you know, they're never happy with your answer. They'll say, well, why is that? And why is that? And why is that? Right? And why is that? And you said, that's enough. You're overeducated. Because you can't possibly keep answering the question until you change the way you're looking at the future.
Okay. Well, in our life, it's going to be in many challenge. My situation is a huge challenge, but how can we use the creation code in a challenging situation?
Yeah, so the creation code is two things. One of it is it's basically listening in on a conversation between two people who care about each other, and listening to how they care about each other and how they ask and answer questions. And by being that third party and just witnessing the characters of Professor Quinn and Landon and Atre, just have their discussions. You'll get insights. Okay, so that's one way, just by listening as you read. You'll get insights. Then at the end of each chapter is a practicum. It's what did Professor say to Quinn, and how did Quinn respond, and how can I use that question that Professor asked to ask myself to change my outlook on how I feel stuck in my life, right? So the practicums at the end of each unit really give you a roadmap for making the change you want in your life, whatever it is. And it could be huge, or it could be as simple as, I don't speak up in public and I don't even know why. Right? So it could be it, but it will dramatically change your life if you just change that little thing. And once you do, then you know the secret that Adriana knows, which is, if I can limit fear out of my life, I can take advantage of anything. So that's where we're moving.
Yeah. John, since we have this very casual conversation, I've seen, and I've done a lot of work with Adriana, not only on the podcast here, but we've done a lot of work in some scenarios, some other stages where we have shared many talks. And I've seen how Adriana definitely shares. But I want to go back to one thing that I think is crucial. And this is going to go in two ways. One of them is, Adriana, when people ask you, check this out. When people ask you for their book to be autographed, by you, they buy a book from you and they want you to autograph it. Do you think they will appreciate it more if you just get some sort of a stamp seal and put it like that? Or do you think they will appreciate it more if you sign it?
Sign it.
So, and this is the thing, because I'm gonna go back to some stuff that I read in the book on the creation code and see the crucial part of this. The question is, why do they appreciate it when you sign it? It just has a different effect on them. By looking at you signing the book, it has an impact on them. Like, I'm having something that just is very different, very unique. And the reason I wanted to bring that up is because I was remembering, I think it is chapter number 2. At the beginning of chapter number 2 in the creation code, Dr. Professor Quinn, the very first thing that he tells Landon, it's get a journal. Get a journal, start, journaling everything, writing everything you go through in the day, everything that you want. I mean, every question that might come into your head, write it down. And I think that is so important, because that's your journal, John?
Yeah. It's good advice.
Yeah.
Very good advice.
It's not only good advice. I think it's more than advice. I think it's science for exactly the things that you were saying, John, the pathways, the neural connections of the pathways, but also for the things that I was asking Adriana, that when she signs a book in front of the people, do they appreciate it better than if she just stamped it? And I'll make the last reference of this. Right now, there is a legal issue here in the U.S. because presidents, when they signed what do you call this? Pardons or any kind of new laws or anything, the president has to sign. But there is also another thing called the automated pen, which is like, if it's not signed by his hand, if it's signed by an automatic kind of a thing, it doesn't have the same weight.
Yes.
So not only legally, it has a huge impact, but I want to go to the practical thing. How psychologically the importance of really doing it. And I think you go very deep into that on the units in the creation code, don't you, John?
Yeah, what a wonderful question to Adriana. I mean, but the impact on the observer. We talk about master modeling. I mean, Dr. Albert Bandura's work. One of my favorite mentors was Al Bandura, and unfortunately he passed away a couple of years ago, but he taught master modeling, and he taught about the Bobo doll experiments and how people just by observing change their own behavior, and or their even what they believe are their limitations. So watching you sign a book is a forever reminder stored in my memory of possibility. And so what a beautiful question, because you leave a lasting imprint on everybody you touch. And that's, how wonderful is that? So that's pretty cool. But in addition to that, Juan, I mean, the illumination that comes from, we call it, I don't know what you'd call it in Spanish. What would you call aha in Spanish? An aha?
It is called, at least in Mexico, is cuando te cayó el 20. Is those moments that give you also aha moments. Cuando te cae el 20, es un momento de iluminación.
Yes. So
actually, the real word, and we use this, I think, in many places in Mexico, we use it. We call it a kairos.
Kairos moment.
Yeah, a kairos moment in Spanish and also in English. Have you ever heard that? Yeah, I think you have, John.
Sure, but so I use the term, instead of aha, an illumination. As a light bulb just went off, an illumination. And Juan, you and I have had the pleasure to be, the book is merely a start. It's basically, it's a start of an ecosystem, if you will, a transformation system that will affect the globe. And the book was only just a small piece of it, just getting people aware of, there's a formula, it's scientific, that if you apply it, it will change every outcome in your life. And all you got to do is apply it. And it's math. Some people are afraid of math. Don't be fearful of it. Just apply it. And it'll change your life. But more importantly than that, we created an ecosystem around the book, which is support. Because oftentimes people want to lose weight and they want to go to the gym, but they can't get themselves to go to the gym. So they find a buddy. And once you have a friend who says, I'm going to pick you up at 6 o'clock in the morning, we're going to the gym and we're going to work out for an hour, you go. Why? Because sometimes your word to somebody else is better than your word to yourself. And until your word to yourself gets great, have a friend or have a support. And so we're creating a support system around not only the code or the formula in the book, but around the people who read the book, a support system. And a wonderful gentleman who's part of our gatherings, Adriana, you've met him before. Juan, obviously, you know him very well. Raul Castillo out of Downey, California. Raul wanted to start a foundation. And so we thought that'd be a wonderful way to place the proceeds from the book into a foundation that would serve underserved populations in the world. And so the foundation is now called the Lighthouse for Humanity Foundation. And it's designed to, by the way, the website is www.lhf.world. I love the .world part of it, because that's what it's designed to do, to help the people around the world. And but if we can get kids to practice this formula over and over, the intention behind the book is to stop living in fear, start living in love, and start living in love of each other. I don't care your politics. I don't care. We've been divided so long for so many reasons by so many people who want to hijack our brains so that we're not thinking for ourselves, that if we can stop the fear, start the love, and then start treating each other as the good book, all the good books would say, with the golden rule, do unto others as you would do unto yourself. If we can do that, and we can teach little kids to do that, not to lose that by the time they're 18 years old, we can truly envision global congeniality or global kindness. And if we can all visualize it, we can attain it. And AI will help us attain it if we hold that picture. But if we don't hold that picture, AI can be a very dangerous tool in the wrong hands.
John, I have a child. I'm a single mom, and my child have 9 years old. How can we cultivate a healthier mental diet?
Ooh, great. You read the book. So I'll tell you one thing. It was interesting. Years back, when I first started working in this world, that was 45 years ago, Juan, now, 1980. My godfather, Lou Tice, brought me to the Pacific Institute. And if it wasn't by sheer luck that I was born into the right place at the right time, I could have been anywhere. And I grew up in public housing. And so what I learned is that children in unfortunately impoverished homes hear 6 reprimands, meaning they get scolded 6 times for every one time they hear something they did right, or what we'll call an affirmation. And so the biggest thing you can do to help your children with mental diet is, one, pay attention to what they're eating mentally, which means don't necessarily let them, don't let the TV babysit them. You want to ensure what they're watching is healthy, because everything they absorb is conditioning those neurons. How they fire, how they're conditioned, how they're going to view the world, all that stuff is happening, and it's happening without our knowledge, right? When we sit them down in front of a TV and they watch a commercial. So pay attention to that. But the most important thing you can do is give your child positive affirmations. Have conversations with your child. Boy, you are so kind to your brother. You're so kind to your sister. You share your toys with your friends so well. I am so proud of you. If you can just give those positive, because we scold enough. Get your shoes off the table. You know, those sorts of, we can scold children into being scared. Again, it's fear that turns off our brains. And if I just have one thing to say to your viewers is, love the people around you. Even if you don't like them, love them. Even if you do, and find something good about them that you can like. Instead of, most of us look at the thing that they have that's different and we find a reason not to like. Find a reason to. Even a criminal has a reason to like them.
Yeah. I have. I wanted to see if there's something we can discuss here. Well, first of all, what you were just telling Adriana to say to her daughter, the affirmations. My thing will be, don't tell her positive affirmations. Listen to this. Don't tell her positive affirmations. That's some of the mistakes that a lot of people do. Just tell them positive affirmations. What you're going to do is make them feel the positive affirmation.
Good point.
Because I can tell you, Adriana, you're great. Okay. Adriana, then my positive affirmation will go this way, because at the beginning of the conversation, John was sharing the importance of asking. Adriana, how does it feel to be as great as you are now?
Oh my God.
Oh my God. Now, how are you going to feel when you become greater?
Yeah.
So that's the experiment. When you tell your daughter, don't tell her a positive affirmation. Make her experience a positive affirmation. Oh, you're dancing great. How are you going to feel when you are going to be dancing even greater? So there is no limitation, because they can feel, oh, I am the best. No, you're doing good and you're going to be doing better. How are you going to feel when you are doing so much better now? I don't know. Do you see that's why don't tell them positive affirmations. Make them live through that.
Well, it's a great distinction, Juan. I mean, I tell them positive affirmations and have them feel it.
Yeah.
But because again, the study showed that kids in poor households were 6 to 1 times many prohibitions or scoldings, if you will, to affirmations. And in the opposite extreme, in the rich households, it was 6 to 1 the other way. And what they learned is the conversations. It's the conversations, right? People tend to take more time with their children in wealthier households. They introduce their children differently. So when people come over, Adriana, I want you to meet Joe Smith. Joe Smith, meet Adriana. Juan, I want you to meet Joe Smith. Joe Smith, meet Juan. And then I tell them something great about both of you, my children, and you hear me say it to a total stranger. And you walk away thinking, wow, I'm pretty good. And so again, and by the time these little children reach kindergarten, the difference was unbelievable in terms of the amount of times they had been negatively talked to, positively talked to, and the children from the socioeconomically wealthy household had learned 20 million more words. Now, if you think words have a huge advantage on how you live your life, and the last thing that I would offer to your audience is, it's easy to be afraid of things that you don't understand, but once you give them names, you don't fear them anymore. Once the name cancer will frighten anybody.
Oh, yes.
But if you give it its real name, whatever it happens to be, then you can start looking for information about it. But when you just hear that C word, it paralyzes you. But once you learn its real name, you can start addressing it. You can start digging into it. You can start learning more about it. And the more you learn about it, the less you fear about it. And the less you fear about it, the more you can visualize a new future for yourself.
Yeah. Before we go, I want to touch another topic that I think it relates to the information that it's so transformational within the book and beyond. But, and it's not a test for you, Adriana. It's just a simple question to sort of create a premise of what we're going to talk about with John. How familiar are you, or what do you know about the infinite unconscious?
Me or John?
You, Adriana.
Well, when I realized about my disability, and I feel and knew it doesn't matter if you don't have wherever. In my case, my arms. When you when you have a concentration in your heart, in your mind, and you can do together. In this moment, you realize the possibilities is infinite, are infinite, and in that moment, I can see, because when I try wherever, when I try to write, and I start to write, bath, of course, and with the practice, I realize I better and better and better, and I realize we don't have impossible when we be commitment to us and with our dream.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good to start, to begin.
I love what you're sharing. That was really, really good, especially the part that you said that, the possibilities are infinite. Now, I want to tie this to something that I will be asking John, because I think this is going to connect us to a lot. Although many, many people, and we keep, I mean, especially you, Adriana, and I, doing these speaking engagements, going to all kinds of people, telling them, you have endless possibilities. The only thing is that even if we tell them, believe in yourself and go do it, it almost feels like people have forgotten because of all the things that John was saying, all the negative information that people were overwhelmed since childhood. So I was thinking about this because I want to tie it to a story that it's one of the most beautiful stories I think you will ever hear, Adriana. And John heard this story from Dr. Robert Weintraub himself. And I want you to share the story because I think that it's going to tie us up to the infinite unconscious.
Uh-huh.
And if we really reconnect to that, it's really going to give us the opportunity of the infinite possibilities that we can surround ourselves with. So, John, can you share the story? Because I
Yeah.
think the first time I heard that from you, it just touched me so powerfully.
Yeah, Dr. Richard Weintraub is a superhuman being. Before I get into that, though, because it's going to make me feel like people will think I'm a quack if I tell the story too quickly. So what we're learning through biology and neuroscience and also psychology is we're learning about spirituality. Believe it or not, and that all roads lead to a common place, which is a first cause. And so when we talk about the infinite unconscious, we're talking about basically that which created everything. Okay, so you can name it whatever you want, but depending on your faith. But just know this: there is a first cause. We know that, whether you call it a Big Bang or whatever else you want to call it. So leave it at that. So I'm talking with Dr. Richard Weintraub, who, by the way, I was involved with Juan in a project with Coach Pete Carroll in Los Angeles, where we were helping gang members change the script of their life. And it was a wonderful project. And Pete Carroll's an amazing human being for triggering that. Anyway, so we're down and I'm doing a training with the Los Angeles Sheriff's Department, and Dr. Weintraub happens to be in my audience, and he said, "Can we go to lunch?" And I said, "Sure." And he's telling me this story on our walk to lunch. He said it was interesting, John. He said, "I had this client. He was a practicing psychologist, and before he joined the Sheriff's Department as the head of professional training." And so he said, I had this client, and she came to see me, and she was very nervous this particular time because she was about to give birth to her second child. And the first child, who was just about 2 years old, was getting very aggravated. And she said, I don't know what to do with my child. It's like he's insistent that he has to see this new child. And I'm afraid that it's so over the top that I'm thinking he may hurt the baby when the baby arrives. And so Dr. Weintraub said, well, you have a baby monitor and things like that? She said, oh, yeah, we got the room ready for everything. And I said, oh, he says, okay, well, just, you'll be able to hear if the door opens. Just show the baby, show him how to hold the baby, show him how to treat the baby, do all the right things. So the baby arrives. As the mother gets to the door, the baby is there, and the little boy who's been waiting just starts aggressively trying to get the baby out of the mother's hands. And so she's kind of freaking out. And Richard learns about this on her next visit. And so she goes and she puts the baby in the baby's room and shuts the door. They had no lock on the door, but they had the baby monitor. And so that evening, when they went to sleep, the young boy came in and he said over the baby intercom, the mother could hear this. The baby said, you got to tell me, I'm forgetting what he looks like. So Weintraub said, it's interesting that perhaps we've just forgotten the infinite unconscious, but we were once part of it, and we can be part of it again.
To me, that was so powerful, because it's almost like the child have seen God, and I don't care what idea some people may have about it, but an innocent 2-year-old coming to a newborn child to ask, in his innocence, I'm forgetting what it looks like. Can you remind me? And that's where the infinite subconscious and possibilities are. Reconnecting to it will be the idea. So then my last question, and I think with this, we might be able to close the show. Can we, and this is a question to both of you, can we reconnect to that through AI instead of even forgetting more, instead of losing our uniqueness? Can we reconnect, with that level of infinite unconscious? It may seem spiritual, and it is. Once you feel it, it is. I mean, even Abraham Maslow, he created this pyramid of needs, and he was very psychological and everything. And then, John, you mentioned this a few times. Towards the end of his life, he changed the pyramid of needs. He says, I forgot to put the most important block in there, which is the transcendence part. And obviously, that went beyond the intellectual aspect of it in order to be able to do that. So again, my question is can we use AI? Can we use the book, The Creation Code, to reconnect to that infinite unconscious, infinite possibilities within ourselves, so that we can be more, do more, see more, just become more? Can we do that?
Adriana, you want to go first?
Well, I think when we don't forget the spirituality, because it's the most important. When we have faith, my mom and my dad tell me always, we have to be a person with big faith, because when you have faith, you can do everything. If you can don't in a moment, you can't do wherever, you're going to find the person to help you. That you don't forget faith and spirituality. And when we have these things present of around us, it's a good skill,
Mm-hmm.
I think. But you are the best,
Yeah,
George.
no, that's advice. I'd just say amen. But I think about from a scientific point of view, in looking at inexplicable things, such as if you've ever gone into a crowded room and you could almost feel somebody staring at you. And so you turn around and there's somebody waving at you. Hey, Adriana, hey, Juan. And you go, how did I feel that? Right? How did I know they were behind me? And the fact of the matter is, we all emit energy. How far we emit that energy is questionable. But Juan and I have done some studying on Dr. Emoto, who, from across the world, you can send mental signals and make ice crystals form in different varying ways from literally thousands of miles away. That's how much energy we're emitting, even in vibration through thought. Okay, so if we tap into the infinite unconscious, or if we tap into that thing that existed before we even knew we did, then possibilities are endless. And it's important that you name it something, whether it's God, whether it's whatever your choice of names is, because there's an old saying, even in the Bible, Adam and Eve were first asked to name the animals. And why? So that they would have dominion over the animals. And dominion didn't mean to dominate. Dominion meant to be responsible for. And so once you name something, you take responsibility for it. And so if you name something God, then you're taking responsibility to act in accordance. And so I just encourage people who are listening right now, the book is a beginning. I hope you get it, not for my sake. The reason I'm on this particular podcast today is, Adriana, I wanted to be with you and Juan when we first talked about the creation code, because it is the first book that I've ever written with the help of Juan and AI in Spanish.
Excellent.
And so I'm hoping that people that have such a great faith, and I'm half Italian, so I kind of feel I'm part of the family, but people who have great faith in family, in work ethic, and in God, this book is going to resonate with, and it's going to liberate. So I really appreciate you because you liberate everybody just with your presence every day. I appreciate Juan. He was a ghostwriter with me on the book. He really helped me get the best of me and Professor Quinn and Landon out of each page. And so I appreciate you, Juan. I appreciate you, Adriana, and I appreciate your public. So thanks.
It's more than grateful to have you here. Then my question is, can people get the book in Spanish? Can people get the book in English? And if they can, where can they get it now?
Well, you're going to have to answer that one, because I will not stoop to pandering my book onto people. So I think you know where they can get it. So you can tell them.
Yeah, well, I will highly recommend that you get this book. It's available in Amazon, it's available in Spanish, and it's available in English. And it's not just a book that you read. It's really a manual that is going to transform your life. And once you get it, I think if you made the commitment to yourself, you will see that Professor Quinn is asking you to get a journal. Like, it can just be a notebook, but call it a journal, where you can start asking all kinds of questions to you, all kinds of questions to God if you want, and you will see that the answers will appear. When you ask the question, the answer will appear. If it's a good question, it will be a great answer. If it's not a good question, it's going to be a horrible answer as well. That's the beauty about what you will understand. But this process, this book is going to become extremely transformational. So I will definitely put my signature on it in the sense of the recommendation. So Adriana, muchas gracias. John McNeil, muchísimas gracias por ser parte de La Voz del Ser en este día. La verdad que es un honor tenerte como invitado para que compartas esta oportunidad tan grande para el mundo, no solamente para nuestra comunidad a través de toda Latinoamérica, pero para el mundo, porque otra cosa, another thing is that the book will be translated into 70 different languages. Entonces, en 70 diferentes idiomas es que se va a traducir también este libro, pero lo más importante es que podamos traducir nuestro propio lenguaje interno, y eso nos lo da esta obra de John McNeil que se llama El Código de la Creación. Adriana.
Gracias, mi querido Juan, por permitirme compartir contigo. I feel very honored to share with you, John. Gracias a todos ustedes, gracias a toda nuestra comunidad maravillosa que nos escucha. Y si les gustó, si les pareció interesante, por favor, no dejen de compartir este maravilloso podcast en todas las plataformas. Y nos vemos en el próximo. La voz del ser.
Before we go, John, you were going to say something. So
All I was just going to say is, it's terrific because the movement starts now for global congeniality, and it's nice that we can initiate it from here. But people jump on this, start showing love to each other, get the book, get into support, get onto the website lhf.world, and find a way to support each other. Thank you.
Blessings to you, John. Bendiciones para todos. Gracias por compartir, Adriana. Gracias. Estamos aquí pendientes para la próxima semana.
Gracias. Hasta la próxima.
Adiós.